This is breaking news.
And this is a CBS News New York special report. Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted, and that indictment has just been unsealed, and we are combing through it now. These are some of the charges that the mayor is facing right now. There are 5 counts. Count 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions by foreign nationals. Count 2 is wire fraud. Count 3, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national. The other 2 counts are as such. Count 4, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and count 5 is bribery.
These are the first criminal charges ever filed against a sitting mayor in New York City. It is a multi-count indictment, and it goes back many years. Decades of research and documents have been used in this indictment that was unsealed this morning in the Southern District Court. There are very specific charges here, one of them being that the U.S. attorney saying that he smuggled contributions through U.S.-based straw donors from several countries. One of them in particular is Turkey, and we've been following that for quite some time. The U.S. attorney also saying that he compounded his gains as well, and saying that this stemmed from years before he even ran for mayor.
Yeah, the matching funds program, which we will discuss more at length in a few moments. We're also awaiting a news conference with the Southern District of New York announcing the indictment to give more details on this investigation, as well as a press conference from Mayor Adams himself, who is set to speak at any moment.
We are looking through the indictment. It is many pages long, many details that we are going through, and Eric Adams is now again the first sitting mayor in New York City history to be indicted. He did release a video message last night saying that if he is charged, he is innocent and he vows to fight. We have political reporter Marcia Kramer. She is joining us on set as well. I know, Marcia, you have been combing through this, going through the very details, and we've been talking about this for so long. You've been following this case for so long. What are you seeing? What are the main points here?
The thing that was stunning to me is that this goes back to when he was borough president in 2015. So we're talking about a conspiracy to accept bribes from foreign governments that goes back nearly 10 years. But I want to read you some things from one of the pages in the indictment. They talk about the various trips that he received and the values, and that he never reported. A $12,000 trip from India to Turkey, a $41,000 trip, free business class tickets from France, Turkey, and China, $16,000 free business class tickets for 2 round-trip tickets from New York to China. I think that was one of his partners. A $12,000 trip to Hungary, a $9,000 trip to Turkey, a $21,000 trip to Turkey, where he then canceled, and also a $12,000 trip to Ghana via Turkey. And as you know, right after he got elected mayor, he made a point of going to Ghana and going to the slave houses there to dramatize the fact that he was the first black person to go there before he became mayor. And then after the trip, he took the oath of office on January 1st, 2022.
And also listed in the indictment with a number of these trips, small payments to make it look like he actually did make payments, a paper trail left behind to show that there were receipts for these trips.
But only some of the times. I mean, according to this indictment, in the beginning he would take small payments, or for example, he was taking a trip with his partner, according to this indictment, and they bought economy tickets that cost about $12,000 and were, $2,000, and were upgraded to business class, which was $10,000. But later on, he instructed people not to put those payments in because he didn't want to show up on his campaign finance reports.
Yeah.
Are you surprised, Marcia, that we are going back so many years? I mean, we had talked about this, and in the past year we have seen so much since November of 2023 when we started seeing the feds seize some documents. But now we're looking at a decades-long corruption probe is what they're saying.
Well, you see, what I think of also here is something that we actually reported on repeatedly over the course of the last 9 or 10 months, and that was this, that after he was accepting all of these payments and straw donors from people in Turkey, there came a time when Turkey wanted to pay back, according to the indictment. And the payback was they wanted him to use his power to put pressure on the FDNY to let the Turkish embassy open without a safety check. And the person who didn't want to do it was told, according to this indictment, you'll lose your job if you don't do it. It's right here in this multiple-page indictment.
It's something to the effect of, now it's time to pay them back for what they've done to us here in the indictment. Also listed, Marshall, you talked about the straw donors and how they're able to disguise donors, but the bigger issue here is compounding those gains from something called the matching funds program, matching those small dollar contributions, augmenting those numbers to the tune of over $10 million.
I mean, the thing you have to understand is that campaign finance laws in New York are very generous. And if you have a contribution, you can get a 6-to-1 or 8-to-1 match, depending on the year you're talking about. And so it was a very, very important thing. But also, there was another part of the indictment that was amazing when it talks about a businessman gave him a huge contribution because he thought if he contributed to his mayoral campaign that Eric Adams was such an important figure in New York, he could go on to be president, and that's why he gave him, I believe the figure was $100,000.
After seeing all of this, we are awaiting a mayor's press conference. Can he continue to serve as mayor in New York City, do you believe?
Well, I think that's what you're going to see when he has his press conference. There are reports that Hazel Dukes, the head of the NAACP, has gone to Gracie Mansion. I suspect you'll see her there, and I think that you're going to see him do what he did last night, which is to say, these are lies, and I'm going to fight this with every strength and spirit that I have. I can't imagine that he's going to change his tune after last night. Remember, this investigation has been going on for almost 11 months, 10 months. He knows what they have. His lawyers know what they have. You know, interestingly, during the course of this investigation, his lawyers put out a report saying they had investigated these charges and there's nothing illegal. And they say that they gave that information to federal prosecutors. Obviously, federal prosecutors didn't believe it and thought it was just exculpatory.
So not that any Department of Justice investigation is not wide-ranging, but do you think there are any surprises in the Adams camp right now that this is going back as far as 2014 when this investigation really first started with this foreign influence?
I was stunned to see that it goes back to borough president days. I thought that they were focusing on things that had happened in the mayoral race and things that he had done maybe right before he became mayor as borough president, because we're talking about opening of that embassy that the Turkish government wanted to do in Midtown. But it went back much farther than that, detailing when he originally made contact with the Turkish government and other officials. Now, it's clear from reading this indictment that there is a cooperating witness. They talk about a Turkish official, a member of the Adams administration. I can tell you that one of the members of the Adams administration, Rina Abasoba, which was his contact to the Turkish government when he was borough president, has been it's been publicly reported that she's cooperating. So I presume that is the Adams official in the indictment. But who is the Turkish official? I know that in the subpoena they did name the then consul general of Turkey, who Adams has been photographed with, raising flags and walking out of the consulate with him. So it could be that person as well.
If you're just joining us, we are awaiting a Mayor Adams press conference, but let's take a look again at that multi-count indictment, and we can go through, Marcia, if you would, each of the charges. One of them is bribery, conspiracy, another is fraud, another is soliciting illegal campaign donations. Again, as you've been taking a look at this indictment, it's many pages, there are many details in this. This is going to be a difficult one to fight and is going to take a lot of his effort and his time. And so the questions are going to be raised is whether he can continue. So many calls at this point for him to step aside.
Well, I can tell you that my inbox is, I would call it a crescendo of people who are asking him to step aside. But I think that he's going to try to fight it. I think that he feels that these are unfair. And I think we're going to wait and hear what he has to say, but I think he's going to try to fight it.
Again, count one, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions by foreign nationals being the first one. And you've talked quite a bit about that as we're taking a look at Gracie Mansion as the mayor is walking to the podium.
The very first line item in the indictment in 2014, Eric Adams, the defendant, became Brooklyn Borough president. Therefore, for nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him. By 2018, Adams, who had then been made known his plans to run for mayor of New York City, not only accepted, but then sought illegal campaign contributions to his 2021 campaign.